Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am here with a deck that I've been dying, but also like prevented from talking about. Just things getting in the way of me, uh, being able to share this deck and talk about it, talk about the book, talk about all that good stuff. But I wanted to, you know, I was like trying to figure out where to start, and I was like, you know what? I think I'll just start with like what I was looking for the longest time, and that is like a book on Mesoamerican mythology. So, of course, one of my favorite decks, other than the Mariel, is the Terror of Delphi, by J.D. Hildegard Hinkle, and it's all on Greek mythology, and it's done so well, even though it is like, pre-existing art. This, it's not like this, where it's not like this deck where it is, uh, you know, painted by the artist, by the creator, themselves. Here, though, it shows Greek and Roman culture and mythology as expressed through the tarot. And there's been other decks as well that do this. More recently, another one of my favorites is the Golden Wheel Tarot, which focuses on Russian fairy tales and mythology as well. Though to what extent I'm not sure. The guidebook isn't really that helpful, but people have pointed out that, oh yeah, it's there. But like I said, I don't know. There's also been the Llewellyn and the Arthurian legend, the Arthurian Tarot, uh, which, a lot of European Celtic, focused decks, from Greek to the Arthurian myths to and even I have the Great Bible Tarot as well as another example of all those. But I've never found anything close to the to genuine uh, you know uh, Mesoamerican mythology. There's the Hultun Tarot, but that I didn't really like it. Which I believe is Mayan in focus. This one is a little bit more, it's vaguely Mesoamerican. With Mesoamerican cultures, indigenous cultures, it's pretty, like, a bit all over the place, and it's difficult to kind of like round it all up into one umbrella term. That's why I'm going to say Mesoamerican. I believe the author, uh, it calls it as such, a Mesoamerican tarot deck, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Because again, I want to make sure that I got much of what this deck is about right. Uh, but again, if I miss something or if I mess something up, please note I'm barely starting out on this on the study of this stuff. Uh, I've gotten a few books on this to study on that, to research and look up, and but over time, slowly, and over time, and yeah. So, anyways, I was like, how in depth should I go into this? I don't know. I don't know. But how about we start with the title and who created this deck? So this is the Tarot Yohualli Ehecatl. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Like I said, just starting out. By Okay, and now his name, I'm like, I can't read it on the gold. That's, well, on the camera I can see it, but in my in real life I have to read it here. So yeah, it's Chicome Itzcuintli Amatlapantli. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Um, so yeah, and he is also known as Felix Deon, and Felix Deon is like, so this is his like uh, Nahuatl name, that he was given in his spiritual group, we'll say, tribe. I don't know. He calls it here in the introduction, in his dedication uh, to the members of my Kalpuyi, Yolin, and then I believe to one of the leaders here as well. So yeah, of Conformidad Oyican, the group of Kalpuyis, of which I belong. So yeah, so I think, through that he was, he got that name, he earned that name, I believe. But for simplicity, and so that I don't give my tongue a cramp, I'm going to be using his name Felix Deon. He's a queer artist. He makes a lot of queer art. I think he has an Etsy under the name Felix Deon. But this you can find under the name Mi Corazón Mexica. What? Hold on. I'm sorry. I got something weird on my computer. I'm like, what? What are you saying? What are you doing? Anyways, okay. Yeah, my computer was doing something weird. So so this deck, it took Felix like about 15 years, 12 to 15 years to complete, and it shows, and and yeah. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to like. Where should I start? Where should I begin? We're gonna save the deck for later. First, we're gonna focus on this book. All right. So, through essentially, he's saying that he said that in his introduction that he was looking for a deck that was Mesoamerican in his culture, because when he saw a reader, he went to a reader, and he noticed that she was using the Rider-Waite Smith, and he was like, well, why isn't there one with a Latino Hispanic culture to it? And now there's actually been there's another one that I want to get. The Calaca Tarot is one that's Mexican American. It's all like skeletons and all that, by a Mexican American artist. And so, yes, but I wanted to get this first because it is of a tradition that we barely see anything of it. We see a lot of reference to Quetzalcoatl, I believe is how it might be the proper pronunciation. That's like the biggest figure that we kind of get. Maybe Coatlicue. I think maybe Dark Goddess might have Coatlicue. I could be wrong. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but anyways, give me a break here. I'll get there. And so what was I talking about? So anyway, so he said, you know what, I'm gonna start working on that. He also was starting to want to illustrate the sacred calendar that it is. It's their form of astrology. It's not really astrology because that focuses on the stars and the planets. This though is more on time of day, or the day that you're born on, and the calendar date that you're born under. That I think might be, I'm not sure how well known that is. Maybe in Mexican culture that might be more popular, but that's what he wanted to illustrate. And then eventually, I think the tarot kind of somehow got into it. He'll explain it better. There was also an interview on Instagram with him on I can't remember who the Instagram is. I'll try and link it in the description down below if I can, but if I can't, sorry. But yeah, he did an interview there, and he explains it and talks about it more. So anyways, another thing that I want to talk about is the cultural appropriation aspect that, I want to give a clarity here and add to, the megaphone that is to clarify that Chicome or Felix Deon, right? Wait a minute. Now I'm like, wait a minute. Is his name even Felix? Yeah, Chicome. Yeah. Now I'm second guessing myself on everything. So he is white presenting, and so he because his dad is like white American, and his mother was indigenous, and so he wanted to connect more to that. And that is where this deck comes with. Its why the deck was made as it was is also, that's also why his parentage is also why, where we see that it is a mix of where it is the Rider-Waite Smith, but with the scenes being depicted in Mesoamerican culture, pre-Columbian Mesoamerican culture, we should say. I should say. So yeah, so I think that's clear enough, right? He's Mexican American. He's actually in Mexico practicing and studying and doing the work that goes in to make this deck. He didn't just stay at home, Google some things, and did some light research. And no, he's actually there, and this is actually a part of his own spiritual practice. He's actually practicing this stuff, and it's so there we go. Just to put that out there for y'all. All right. So first of all, let's get into this then. Book production, hardcover, cloth bound with the gold on it. We love to see it. It's hardcover. It is sewn bound with, I think, glue and sewn bound as well. The book is black and white with red in there as well, which there is a reason why he chose black, white, and red. There is like a traditional thing here. The end papers, gorgeous. I love these end papers. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. The paper itself they're very particular of the paper that they were, because my friend Lucy Peralta, she is in Mexico, and she went and she messaged the creator and said, hey, can I go pick it up instead of dealing with the postal service, and I can go pick it up myself. So she did. They met up, they chatted, they talked about it, talked with, I believe, his partner, and how his partner also helped publish and make this deck, produce the book, I should say, and also print the deck, I believe. And so he says, like, he was very particular of the paper that they use. And I actually love this paper because most hardcover books, sometimes, especially in this size, when you have them open on the first, like, quarter or the first part of the books, they usually tend to like close by themselves, but I love that you can just have it open like that, and the paper is very very soft. There is some ghosting, which I guess some people care about that. And so but again, to me, whatever, I think it's still a well produced book. Now, one thing that I will say, I think the introduction might need a bit more. There is a good author's letter, a good forward. It doesn't talk about the back design of the cards, which he has posted on like his Patreon or his Instagram. I can't remember where, but he does say that this obviously it has some significance. There is meanings for what the 4 dragon serpents here represent, what this figure here in the center represents. He talks about also like the flint knife that you see there. You can get some things from the book, but again, it's like he doesn't sit down and clarify it. But I think also he has a very he offers a unique reading spread that you can do for like the 4 directions and the center, but it's a little tricky to see or to visualize, so I wish it had a diagram that you usually see with spreads in books. It'll show the rectangles of where the cards are and all that, and I'm like, okay, but so yeah, if that makes sense. There's one more thing. Although the book is well written and it is very clear, and I love that it does something that very few tarot books do for some reason, and that is describe what's actually in the cards and explain why they depicted the cards as they did, and how it relates to the meaning of the deck or of the card. He doesn't just say, like, he doesn't just give the meaning of the card. He actually goes into the depiction and what's in it, what's being shown, what are the details in there, what are the symbols here, what does it mean, he does go into that. Love that. Like, take note, tarot writers, take note. I really, like, we got 78 Degrees of Wisdom and several other tarot books on tarot meanings. How does your depiction fit into, into that meaning? That's what we want to know, so we can better read with it, or don't bother and let us just read it intuitively, I guess. Whatever that means. But there is one part that I think there might be some editing that is needed, where there are some parts where there are some things that are like repeated. I feel like there's like a sentence or an idea that's already been explained earlier in a paragraph or earlier in a part of a section on a card, and I feel like that that needs to be gone through and like kind of reorganized and kind of, shortened, maybe cut out. It's like, okay, we already know that. Let's let's go on to the other parts. But for the most part, it's a really good book, and I think hopefully hopefully it'll get better in the second edition, hopefully. But I think for the most part, I think it's a well written book. Very few typos. I think there's one. Where is it? Somewhere with the staves. Yeah, somewhere here. Topilli. He calls them Topilli, Topili, or Topilli. I sometimes see it as. Sometimes hear it. Here it is. It's Ehecatl, which is the Flint, and that's a typo there. It should be Topilli. So, so yeah. But I think that's the only typo, like big typo, that I found. So there's another one like it, but again, for the most part, far better than some of the other tarot occult books that I've seen printed out here, because sometimes the typos they're noticeable, and they're like, whoa, like, give us a break here. Maybe you should have had someone proofread this. But no, not in this case. The book is also in Spanish and in English, if you haven't noticed as I flip through some of the pages here. So that explains the size of it. So again, love that for anyone that is beginning, that is, if there is someone in your life that that speaks only Spanish but loves tarot and wants a good book and deck like this, hey, perfect, right there we go. So yeah, what else is there? I feel like there was something else that I wanted to say on the book, but for the most part, I think that's it. Oh right, one more thing, and I'm sure this is just part of the tradition that is here, that is in this, that is of this deck. But the suits that he talks about, he does give an introduction to each suit, which I love. We love to see it. So each suit has, good introduction. Here it is. Explaining each of the suits, and how like each suit has a general idea. In traditional tarot, we have the wands representing energy and spirit, drive and passion. Then we have the cups being emotions and feelings, the subconscious, the deep inner self, the heart. Then we have the swords being the mind, the intellect, communication, thoughts, facts and logic, that kind of thing. Then we have coins as the material, the earth, the physical. That's not very clear cut in this. Here it's not so separated, and I think that is because of the spiritual tradition. But I will say, though, one thing that I will say, that I'm like, okay, girl, like, that's a pretty vague word. Let's be careful with what words we use here, and that is that he uses intuition for almost all of the cards, for all of the suits, and I'm like, okay, like, I would like some more differentiation, but for the most part, I got a handle on what what's being what each suit means, and in the end, really, it's you have the imagery to use, and it's not it's a thing. It's a thing that how I read, I guess, is each suit has a general theme. When you do a spread and you see a majority of one suit or one element, then you're gonna read into that, but here when it's all vague, when the lines are very, very blurred, it really can be a little bit tricky for people to differentiate, well, what's the difference between the suit of hearts, in this case cups, and the suit of flints, in this case swords. What's the difference? How can we, what else? I'm not sure. Maybe a glossary as well might be helpful, like a glossary of symbols. But in that case, then I think you can find books on that. There's actually a book here that I have. Illustrated Dictionary of the Gods and Symbols of Ancient Mexico and the Maya by Mary Miller and Carl Taub. Which is essentially just like that I just recommended, but I'm like, but in the sense of the tarot, I'm like, maybe something might be helpful. Like an index, perhaps, would also be helpful, but that's just my opinion. But enough of that. Well done either way. As a whole, other than my critiques, I think as a whole, it's well done. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love to see it. I loved reading it. It was very clear, very easy to understand. One thing though that I also do wish is a pronunciation guide. Because again, some of these words are, like you're doing, like some real, tongue Olympics here with these words. Uh, so yeah, what is going on here? Why is my computer turning off? Stay awake, because it's what I'm using to record this. So yeah, so let's get into the cards now. What's actually really important. Sorry for taking so long. So here we have here's the box. It's a normal tuck box, and it is nothing too fancy. It's actually rather easy to open and close after you get, the tab open a few times. But again, do the butter knife rule. You stick your butter knife in under here, and then you flip it. You turn it, and it opens up rather easily. That's what I use to open it. It fits the cards pretty well. But again, it is a tuck box. It is beautiful with the gold on there. We love to see it. But yeah, it's it's very it gets the job done. We'll say that. I wish maybe a little bit more, maybe a little something. But other than that, moving on. Let's get into the cardstock. This cardstock is lovely. Cutting is a little bit. I'm not sure if this is just because of my copy, but some of the cuts here, you can see there, or maybe because of how thick the cards were. The machine that cut them probably wasn't. But again, for the most part, shuffled it, evenly cut. You'll be surprised how many mass market decks I've shuffled and they're unevenly cut. I'm looking at you, Oswald Worth. And what else? And I'm also looking at you, Jonas Ajaus. So, yeah. But anyways, thick, matte, as y'all like it. But I will say, I think for the average tarot reader who wants to get this deck, not everyone is blessed with big hands like mine. So, so even this is like a little bit of an exercise to shuffle. But yeah, the mat is actually rather easy to flip through, if I'm not mistaken. But again, it's just the size of it. It's just the size that gets me, for my once I get lower, in the cards, I can thumb through it pretty easily. So that's good. That's good. How glidey it is, I'm not sure. I haven't really done that. I don't really do that, but yeah. What is that? What is that? What is that? I barely noticed this. It's not too bad. Yeah, it's not on the front. But hopefully I don't, think too much of it. Again, if I barely notice it, probably not too bad. But not gonna message the creator for a replacement card because I think it's fine. It's not too bad. It's not like it creases. But yeah. But anyways, moving on. Moving on to this. Let's finally talk about the cards here. So we have the Nahuatl term at the top and then the Spanish at the bottom. So we have Chocholoqui, I believe, for the fool, or El Tonto, all in white, very airy. He has a chihuahua behind him. We love to see it. Okay. Then we have, let's see if I can do this. So some of the words are pretty close together here. So I believe these are two separate words because the letters are in red, are red, I believe. So this is Tetlatla, Maniliki, yeah, El Mago, if you will, the magician. So yeah, and then we have the High Priestess. And some of these are actually taken from the codexes that survive from the Spanish conquest. So like this, like I said, I bring that up because this figure is like a central figure to one of the drawings there. One of the drawings in one of the codexes. And like all this, let me tell you, if you think that he misses something or he doesn't cover a symbol or whatever, anything you see here, he touches on. Almost anything. Like for like 99% of the image here is going to be talked about. In the book at least. So here's the Empress. And then here's the Emperor. The Hierophant or the High Priest, el sumo sacerdote. Then the lovers. And then movement. Oh, I should also get, well, I was like, oh, I should compare the size. No. I'm like, oh wait, is it even in focus? It's clear enough, you know. Yeah. No. I'm gonna zoom in. Give me a minute here. Much better. Yeah. I'm like, some of them were fine, I think, for the most part. You know, let me go through these real quick so you guys have an idea, a better idea as to how detailed there are, you know, these pieces are. So yeah, there are some cards in here that you had to change up, you know, because the ideas didn't really translate well to the, you know, like they're like, I'm not sure. I'll explain it. Like judgment is one of the examples that he gives, that there is no idea of a final judgment, like the Christian concept of, you know, of the final judgment. Instead, he does renewal. I think that's the key word. It's like, yeah, you'll see. So here's a hanged man, and here's death. We love to see it. All the marigolds and all that. La Templanza, temperance. And then here we have the, oh my gosh, the coralillo, the coral snake. There you go. So yeah, one thing that I will say is that there isn't much body diversity in this deck, other than like, other than her, this deity here. I can't remember what her name is. I believe she's considered the filth eater. You see her again in Judgment. She's like a lunar aspect, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, but again, for the most part, they look very, you know, thin, but they're not like supermodels, you know. At least I'll give them that. You know, they're not like all muscle bound and all, you know, Instagram model bikini ready thin, you know. You know, but again, some, you know, differences in body types would have been nice, I will say. So yeah. Okay, so where was I? Sorry, I had to pause and do something real quick. But yeah, for body diversity isn't much, but again, I think for doing the work of depicting a culture that has never really been depicted, I think maybe with a few instances, this is a major milestone in and of itself. So yeah, in my opinion. So yeah, one thing that I will say, now that we're in the staves, we're starting with the wands here. I forgot to mention this, but because I was like, wait a minute, I should talk about this. I should point this out. I love that the staves have like two types. There's the one with the flower tips and the one with like the flints, to show like there's like the spears and also the as like staves as well. I love that. So yeah. I'm not sure what else to say about it. Okay, so another big thing here, if you guys are not comfortable with this on the book, is, and this is again one of the things that I think he should put in the beginning on, you know, because it is such a running theme throughout the deck, I feel, and that is the idea of sacrifice. If I'm not mistaken, he doesn't really touch on it in the introduction. Maybe I missed it, maybe not. I don't think he did. But the point is that there's a lot of, you know, it is known, it is well recorded, you know, that the Aztecs and other, you know, cultures also, you know, practiced human sacrifice, and you know, but here sacrifice though is very much Although, yes, we do see depictions of human sacrifice here. I think in the 10 of Flints. I think also in the 4 of Flint as well. But yeah. Let me talk about it as we edge nearer and nearer to those. But that is that merely it is, sacrifice to them is quite what, in Kabbalah, what, the center Sephiroth, the Tiferet, is balance, I believe, and it's beauty. And there's a lot of sacrificial gods that are depicted there. And I believe it was either Dion Fortune or someone else that when talking about sacrifice, as it is in the vaguest of terms, in the most universal of terms, it is just payment. You sacrifice your money when you buy food. It's like that. You sacrifice your time for work. You sacrifice your physical labor and your energy to get something in return. The same idea goes to here, because it is said that these deities, these gods, sacrifice themselves to give us what we have today. So like one god sacrificed himself and he became corn. And so when we eat corn, it is said that that we are eating of his body. Very Christian, if you don't mind. if that doesn't, in my opinion, eat of my flesh. This is bread. you know, very similar ideas. But anyway, so yeah, I just want to point that out and to prepare anyone that gets this deck and is reading through it and is like, sacrifice, and it's like, there's a reason why. And it's like, to me, it's like, and I think Kabbalistically that kind of, my research into Kabbalah kind of prepared me for that idea of like, you get something in return. Sacrifice, I feel like when I was first growing up, it seemed like sacrifice, you just sacrifice yourself and you really didn't get anything from it. I feel like for the most part there really wasn't much of a return in sacrificing whatever you give up, or the term of sacrifice. It seems like the term has slowly become synonymous with giving something up just to give it up and not really to liberate yourself from it. And it's like, no, that's not necessarily the term what sacrifice is. Sacrifice is also like literally to be, the term it literally comes from to make sacred. That's one of the things there. There's so much to it. I'll talk about it in a video that I'm gonna do right now. Maybe I'll see. I'll see if it brings up. So yeah, here's the 10 of Flints. I love this 10 of Flints here, the 10 of Swords. What I love is that it looks like they're either emerging out of him or they're flying right towards him, entering his body. It's like, I love that dichotomy there. But again, it is very violent. I'm not sure if there's any other cards like that. But yeah. Let's see what else. What else is there to say? I'm not sure. Because I don't want to say too much, and for you guys to, and for you guys to be like, oh, no need to read the book. I'm like, no, read the book. So yeah, one of the things also, like this thing, and I think it's also in the 5 of coins. Yeah, here it is. Here's another one, I believe. From what I've heard and what I read, right? Is it that, or is it something else? Right? No, it's that. I believe it is that, where there is something inside of them that's like wrapped up and bundled and, sealed up. There's something sacred, and it's only opened up during very special and sacred days. And I remember listening to, who was it? Sacred Space Japan. I believe she changed her channel name. But she talked about, in Japan, one of the practices that they have is they have these charms. They have these little things, and they're like mini temples or little sacred tiny spaces within, like, they're very small, like almost like some of them are like the size of this, or like the size of, smaller than a box of cards, really. So you can carry around with you, and similar ideas, like the phrase, like there's a lot of correlation there, along with the concept of, like, I believe the term is animism, where every single thing is a living thing. I was reading, Benabel Wen's Book of Maps, the Revelation edition, and she was talking about that concept there, and how here it is believed that anything and everything is alive and living and has life force to it. And it's also and that concept is found in alchemy as well, with the concept of fire. You know, of like there's physical fire, the actual fire that burns and illuminates. There is the illuminating fire of like enlightenment, and there's the spiritual fire of the divine. And with like that fire of enlightenment, to go back to that, is like consciousness essentially. You know, so but not the very same as this. This is like, you know, this is more like it's an actual living thing. This is why you see the hearts and the flints with faces on them, with like little, with like teeth and eyes. So because they're alive. So yeah. And there's so much more to it that I can like talk about. But this would be that would make this video a really long video. And I almost debated whether to make it like a really long video, but no. Like I said, I wanted this to be, again, a teaser for you guys to actually go and get it, to get the deck. Oop. So, okay, so again, shuffles well. You know, on both ways, you know, with the cards facing up and the cards on the bottom. You know, like this, facing down and facing up, which we love to see. And what else? What else is there? Oh, right. Okay. So as I'm signing off, there is going to be Mi Corazon Mexica is having a sale right now. I'm not sure till when, but I'll be sure to link everything that he has in the description down below. His Patreon, his Instagram, his Etsy shop and Etsy shops, his Redbubble, so that you guys can get your hands on this. It does ship from Mexico, but right now he is having a 20% off sale for his deck. Lucky you guys. I don't know why my edition, my copy didn't come with a cloth bag, but apparently yours does, from what I see on the pictures, which I was like, am I bitter? I'm not bitter. You're bitter. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I think it's fine. I have a few bags coming in, which I may keep this deck in one of them. I don't know. With the box, I'm not sure. It's weird. I don't know. If the box is still holding up, you know, I tend to keep my decks in there, in their boxes. So yeah. And also what I love is that, surprisingly, oh no, that's the first time this has happened. Oh no. For the most part, not too hard to get that one card into the bottom flap of the box. You see there, you know. I don't know if you saw that, but it's pretty easy to put them in there compared to other decks, compared to other tuck boxes like that. So yeah, there you go. If I give it a rating, I'd probably give it 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10, you know. For the most part, it's like there are some things I'm like, you know, but you know, not all decks can do everything, you know. And this one, though, I think does so much already, you know. And I'm so happy to have a deck like this in my collection. Will I work with it? That's another question. I hope I'll be able to work with it and do readings with it. But that's for us to see when I do live readings, which hopefully I'll do. Maybe I'll do soon. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So yeah, there you go. This was the Tarot Yohualli Ehecatl. And yeah. Oh my God, I didn't even translate what the name means. You'll find out in the book. Read the book. Come on, it's there. So yeah, there you go. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.